Attention please, we need to start the regular meeting. Mr. Bennett, would you do the roll call, please, sir?
I'll be happy to, Mr. Chairman. Let me get a pen.
I'm right here.
Chairman Highlander.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Oh,
Hold on, we got the important one here.
We'll go to
We got the important one here.
the first team.
We're gonna make you earn your money tonight.
You'll earn that fee, brother.
For the record, the last time I did that, I did script roll call, so there's that.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
You're welcome. Thank you. Chairman Highlander.
Here.
Vice Chairman Jones.
Here.
Mr. Galloway.
Here.
Mrs. Lennon.
Here.
Mrs. Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Testerman.
Here.
Mrs. Thurman.
Here.
Mr. Wingate.
Here.
Mr. Jones. Superintendent Dr. Johnson.
Here. Thank you very much. We have the following request to amend the agenda. I have received the following requests. Under pledge to the flag and meditation, change to Kelbert Scruggs, instructor at Tyner Academy. Under administrative matters, item A, approval of FY 2019 budget for presentation to County Commission after the pledge and meditation. Also, after the pledge and meditation, B, approval of our legal retainer clause. Under C, approval of the athletic trainers. Under Roman numeral, item Roman numeral 5, exemplary excellence, remove item C, recognition of jump rope for heart winners. Update item D, recognition of STEM cart teams. Under item Roman numeral 6, delegations, remove B, Tron Wilder, kindergarten start date policy. Under item Roman numeral 8, approval of consent agenda, chief business officer, add grant acceptance request, Camp Kindergarten funded by Smart City Venture Fund through the Community Foundation. Under item 10, Roman numeral 10, board matters, item A, zero tolerance appeal, change to 2, add item C, school safety update. Do I hear a motion that the agenda be approved?
So moved.
So moved. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Galloway.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Testerman.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
Yes.
Mr. Wingate.
Yes.
Chairman Highlander.
Yes. Now, we have no executive session, so we are honored to have Mr. Kelbert Scruggs come and do our flag and meditation. Mr. Scruggs.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Johnson, board members. Meditation is taken from Proverbs 4:23. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Let us stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. This is, of course, voting matter. We need approval for the FY 2019 budget for presentation to the County Commission.
Move that we approve. I'll second.
Move approved in second. Any discussion before we call for the vote?
I'm sorry, who motioned in second?
Mr. Galloway, Mr. Smith. Am I correct? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We can call for the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones. Yes. Mrs. Lennon.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Testerman.
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman.
No.
Mr. Wingate.
Yes.
Chairman Highlander.
Yes. Under B, approval for our legal retainer for the attorney firm of Bennett Camp. Do I hear a motion that we accept their proposal?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I think Mr. Smith and Miss May have edged her out.
Okay.
Okay? Any discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes. I was waiting.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes. And our third. Let's get the motion, Commissioner's gonna go for it. Third, we have approval for, the athletic trainers as recommended, by our committee for Erlanger. Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve.
To approve, got a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Wingate. We have discussion. Ms. Jones?
Oh, shit, the question.
Ms. Jones has a statement, then we'll take any questions that we have.
As an employee of Erlanger Health Systems, I am recusing myself from this vote.
Thank you. Any questions about the athletic trainers from anyone?
Yes, I have a question. There was a difference of, they said they weren't sure how many people, so we're talking about 5,000 athletes, right, and it's about $5 for 5 athletes, am I correct? So there's a difference of about $25,000 between the two bids. Is that what I'm getting? It was about the difference. You know, this is really hard, because maybe in the fiscal one, I'm looking at the $25,000. But I tell you what, they have been very good. Benchmark has been very good to this school system. And they stepped up and did a lot of things that nobody else would. And I think loyalty, there's a lot to be said for that. And the fact that, I don't know why some of the others didn't get the RFP. I don't know why that happened or how that happened or
The RFP was placed online as well, so there were some that requested, we sent it to them, and we did. Those that did request it was sent to.
Okay, thank you, Lee. I just need some clarification. Wasn't real sure how all that worked. But the fact of all the things that you give to the students free of charge and all the extra things that you've done as far as our athletic facilities and or our training rooms and things like that. I'm not sure if the $25,000 would even pay for some of the things that you've done. So that's, like I say, I have a lot of loyalty. I just appreciate the loyalty and the work that you've done for the school system. So I will be voting, for you. So, but anyway, that's just the.
Okay.
That's the motion. So.
Quick comment. Once again, the other entity said they could cover all schools. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Coach Galloway, could I ask you one more time? Were there any major differences from the committee other than the $25,000 difference?
Not that I'm aware of, just that's,
It's cheaper. It was cheap. That it was cheaper. Okay. So either yes,
Can I, Ms. Thurman, I'm sorry because I missed the discussion here earlier, but so clarify to me what your struggle is here with that someone who bid $25,000 less did not get
No.
the recommendation.
There was a difference. I think of about $25,000 in the two bids. One of them bid $30 per athlete, and one bid $35.
Okay.
So there was a difference of $5 per athlete, and there were at least there were about 5,000 athletes.
3,500 this year, 3,553.
Okay, and so there's not, going to be for that. And then you missed the discussion of all the extra things that Benchmark had not Benchmark, but Sports Medicine had done, and some of their other people had done in some of our training rooms and things like that. So I just think for the difference in cost, I'm not sure that there is really any difference. I'm not sure that we could pay them for what they've done, and I just appreciate their loyalty and stepping up when we needed their help. And so I would like to make the motion to, I guess instead of just voting for Erlanger, I guess I would like to make a motion to give the bid to,
The conglomeration.
yeah, I don't know what to call it, because there's three of you there. How do,
We've
Well,
got,
we
we've
got
got
a
a
motion.
motion.
yeah,
We've got a motion on the floor, I believe. Whoever made the motion would have to amend it to do that. Is that right, Mr. Bennett?
Alternatively, Mr. Chairman, we could do a substitute motion, and if that's seconded, and if the board chooses to substitute, then you can go from there.
Okay.
So are you making a substitute motion, Ms. Thurman?
yeah, I'm sorry, Craig.
So are you making a substitute motion?
Yes, I would like to make that motion, please.
We vote between the trio or the single entity.
Yeah, I just don't,
Okay.
I don't know what to call them at this point.
Well, we'll just say the trio right now. How about do you have a second for that?
I'll second.
Second? So then, what, is that correct in Robert's Rules of Order, sir, that, so now we will vote, we will say either for Erlanger or the trio of others?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, procedurally, you would vote on whether to substitute her motion for the main motion. If
okay.
that passes, then believe it or not, you've got to vote on the main motion,
Okay.
which at that point.
So we're voting on the substitute motion now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Call for the vote on the substitute motion, whether to vote between the two groups, the Erlanger group or the trio groups. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I'm going to excuse myself from this vote as well because I have a business relationship with more than one of these people or
Okay.
companies.
So there will be a 7-person vote on both of these.
Procedurally, note that in order for anything to pass, it has to have a majority of the board and not merely a majority of the folks who
Those
are voting.
voted. So we have to have 5 votes.
You still have to have 5 votes regardless. You've got 2 people who've recused themselves. You still have to have 5 votes, not 4.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. That's a very important point. Thank you. Okay, now for the substitute motion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes, my question is, now we're voting whether to allow the substitute motion. Now, we're not voting on one or the other at this point, is that
Yes, sir,
correct?
correct.
The substitute motion.
Yes, I vote yes for that.
Mrs. Jones?
Recuse.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes, I'll vote for that.
Mrs. Robinson?
Recuse.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Testament? Mr. Testament?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes,
Mr. Wingate?
No.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes.
Substitute motion carries. So now the main motion is to award the bid to the conglomerate, the trio.
The trio, or are we voting either or here?
Well, the motion that I have, and maybe well defer to the secretary, but
To award the bid to the conglomerate is what I had.
that's what I had as well.
All right, now I have a question, because I thought we were going to, see, I was on the committee to do this, and I know that I'm not going to vote against what the committee came up with, just spend some time on this, but I didn't mind having the opportunity for people to vote either way. I thought now we were going to vote one way or the other.
I understood her motion was to vote on the one of your choice, either the trio. I thought, Ms. Thurman, I understood that your motion was that, maybe I misunderstood, that each board member voting would have a choice of either Erlanger or the.
It's gonna be the same, either way.
Well, it will be different because it will be different. If we vote just for the trio, we don't have enough to vote for it, but we can vote for, if you meant for it to vote, if you meant to vote individually, each member can vote, I think we can do that.
I have a question, even though I'm not voting on some question. If you do that, does that not defeat the purpose of the RFP?
Well, if you're asking,
Well, I'm asking whoever, the motioner, the attorney, the chairman, whoever. I'm just like, what was the RFP process? What was the point of the RFP process?
Legally on the RFP, correct me, I'll let you answer that.
well, and I was confused because I wasn't sure if you're asking your colleagues, Ms. Jones, or if you're asking me legally. If you're looking at me. An RFP is simply a request for proposal. You're looking for information. The RFP that you sent out, though, actually, even, and I really hate to inject, I want to give you options, but at the risk of giving you too much to talk about, if you understand what I'm saying. You said that you could split the contract in your RFP. When you requested this, you said that you reserve the right to award some or all to any number of people. So you have preserved maximum flexibility. So, Ms. Jones, to answer your question, what was the purpose? It was for this board, through its committee, to get as much information as you needed to make an informed decision. What that decision is up to you.
Okay.
Now, I would also say procedurally, it seems to me that some board members voted yes on the motion to substitute, and maybe you didn't mean to vote yes on that motion. It's the decision of the chair here, but we could do one of two things. I mean, appropriately, you could reconsider the motion, and then instead just do it up or down. Who do you want? And do a preference. That would.
I think we could do an up or down preference if that's all right with the body. Just do it up or down. We can go Erlanger or the other three. Is that if Mrs. Thurman is willing to do that?
Well, yeah, that's fine with me. But another question, since you said that why not? Can we not split it up and give half the schools to one, half to the other, and then see? I mean, is that kind of thing you're talking about?
Well, I can't. In terms of a policy decision, I can't tell you what the board thinks is best.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just asking, is that what you're talking about, splitting it up? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
In the committee that sent out the RFP reserved the right to split.
Okay.
So, in terms, no, I have to defer to Mr. Galloway here. I don't know if that's something that the committee even discussed. If you decided that in terms of cost savings, that would defeat the purpose of having one provider. But it seems to me that the board is divided here, so I'm trying to provide you with some guidance about what you could do, not necessarily what you should do.
I just want to say one thing, and I don't, Erlanger, Memorial, it doesn't matter to me. The focus of this was to get every student covered athletically. Number one, let's start there. And so I just challenge the board to be real careful. You know, the administration, when you entrust us, we go through that RFP process, and we bring experts around the table with those that have expertise in the area around the table. I just challenge the board to be real careful about, you know, where you step in regards to that. You have all the ability in the world to do that, but we have RFP processes for a lot of things. And so, you know, once we step into not trusting the process, you know, you step into a new realm, which is fine if that's where the board wants to go. But I do know that there were several people a part of that process, and I wasn't a part of the process. And so, you know, you take what that group says, and we do that for textbooks, we do that for, you have to help me here, Christy, we did that for visitor management, we did that for electronic locking doors, we do it for a myriad of things, and we go through that process. And so that's just a note.
And I will say also that we have on textbook, we have had contention of the board after an RFP for textbooks. So since I've been on the board, so I mean, and I appreciate your point. It's a very good point, but it is final decision is the board's.
No, that's right. I was just say if we were just going to let you do it, we wouldn't have to vote on it to say do what you want to do. So but we got a little bit more information I think tonight than maybe the committee had. Am I correct?
Well, it's kind of muddied the waters a bit in that the committee assumed everything went out to everybody had the same opportunity. That's what an RFP is, and then we thought that was the case. And I think that's still the case. It's just, you know, how you look at it.
Well, I'm not even talking about that part. I'm talking about the extra things that they did that we were not aware of. A lot of the extra things. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about that we didn't realize that.
Well, I actually in the committee, in that I was advocating somewhat for them. I told them I wasn't answering for the board, but I would agree with the things you're saying about what they've done. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned some of those things that they did for me personally at Lookout Valley. Yeah. But overall, the reason I agreed with them that the recommendation was to go the other way, we just felt like it was not only was it the better price, but that we were going to get the same kind of results from it. So that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make a suggestion, we
Yes,
have a motion pending that it feels to me like it's going to be voted down. So we can go ahead and maybe clear the deck and let the board formulate the next idea. May I suggest that the board go ahead and vote on the pending motion so we can start afresh?
Could we rephrase the motion? Will you all allow that?
Yes.
Did they have something writing, Mr. Whitgate, Ms. Jones? You look. Okay, could you rephrase read the motion for us, please, ma'am? Or sorry, either of you, whichever has it.
What I have, Ms. Thurman moved, David Testerman seconded to make a substitute motion, awarding the bid to the trio.
I thought the substitute motion was to vote up or down. It wasn't to award it to another. It wasn't to award it to another entity. It was to have the opportunity to vote either or. Was the motion? Is that not right?
Also, that you want to vote.
Right. Yeah. And what I'm saying is, we both understand that's what y'all were thinking. What we recorded from what Ms. Thurman said was she wanted to award the bid to the conglomerate, and so there's the confusion. And so we can do one of two things to untangle the knot. We can either go ahead and vote her motion down and start afresh, or we can do a substitute motion, and let's not do that.
Ms. Thurman, what would you like to do, since you made the
It
original
doesn't make a
motion?
difference, like I say, it's still, it's six of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, go ahead and vote, but that was my motion, because I wanted, I just didn't wanna vote on that. That was my motion, that I wanted to, to award the bid to them, so.
So if we do that, it gets voted down,
Then you go back to the original motion.
correct. Okay. So let's vote then.
This is to vote it down.
To vote it up or down? No.
Well, a yes is for her motion.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Galloway,
No.
Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Lennon,
No.
Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Testerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Mr. Wingate,
No.
Chairman Highlander.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I've sort of lost touch here. I think now we are voting to accept Erlanger's.
Well, we would need a motion because.
Need the motion
You would need
again.
the
I thought we
motion.
had one before, but we need another. We need another now. What's the
I
time?
move that we accept recommendation to approve
There we go.
Erlanger.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Got a motion and a second? Choose the second you want, Ms. Ford. Ms. Lennon and Mr. Wingate, either one you want, they're right together. Okay, any discussion before we call for the vote? Let's vote, please.
Mr.
We need
Galloway,
5 votes.
Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Lennon,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson, recused, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Testerman,
No.
Mrs. Thurman,
No.
Mr. Wingate,
Yes.
Chairman Highlander.
No.
Motion fails.
So we have no one now?
I'd like to make a motion.
So we have nothing now?
Can I make a
Hey,
motion?
Chairman Highlander, can I just say what I wanted to say before we went through all the motions, substitute motion, and all that stuff?
Yes, sir.
So, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Extremely near and dear to my heart. We have not had coverage for many schools in this district for a long time. Regardless of who was covering the schools, whether it was a conglomerate or one organization. And while at times, one or many of those folks have done some things for our system that have been very honorable, we have not had coverage for the least of these. The goal of this is to get coverage for everyone. So my suggestion is that this board acts in a manner that is responsible to cover everyone. Not based on a loyalty, not based on a feel-good story, but what covers everyone, including the least of these. So to have this stalemate about feel-good stories is not getting this school system where it needs to be. I'm about doing the business of the school system. And I'm tired of coming to these meetings and wasting our time. We're not making progress. We're talking. We're pandering. At some point in a democratic republic, You submit to the will of the betterment of your community. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I'd make a motion that we accept all 4 bids and that we do what we've intended to be doing, and that's to give our principals and our coaches a little bit of authority. I'd make a motion that we accept all 4 bids and that we allow our coaches to choose whom they wish to serve them. That's my motion.
Got a motion, do we have a
I
second?
will second that.
So it's a discussion.
Discussion?
Who says these companies want to do that? Like, I know I said this, I cannot vote because I have 2 jobs and they're both my employees are here. But what I'm saying is, if we're gonna do what is right and you're thinking business minded, what business is going to do that? And the only reason, I honestly feel like the only reason why the conglomerate does what they do now is because they formed that relationship because they could not do it individually. So you gotta choose. We gotta choose. And you can't talk out of both sides of your neck. You can't say that one thing is not financially feasible and then turn around and say, oh, it made me feel good because it's financially feasible. Now, I am gonna say this because I do work in healthcare and I work for several other companies, that when it comes to DME and all that other stuff, there are so many ways to get that. Be it free or TenCare or your grandma had one or the neighbor has one or the church has a closet of them. So I know that sounds really good and I'm grateful for everything, whether I gave it or somebody else did. But we have to do what is right. And so because we are in a stickler position, because 2 of us sit here that cannot actually vote, the rest of y'all gotta do what's right.
Other comments?
Well, my only other comment would be that everybody's put forth what they would do in the situation that they're in. Now they're in a different situation. We don't know if they'll do the same thing. I don't know what to vote on now because Erlinger may or may not want to share the others. The others may want to share. I don't know. I mean, they submitted what they submitted the way they did, and that's. I just thought that's the way the committee looked at it.
Okay, let's.
Dr. Allen.
Dr. Smith, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Can I say something first, Dr. Smith?
I'm sorry, Ken. I thought that was Dr. Johnson's request. I thought you said the doctor. I thought you meant Smith. Yes, ma'am. I understand that now. Dr. McDane.
I appreciate the board's predicament here. The committee was in the same predicament. Those committee members had benchmarked. They had sports medicine doing their schools. We're in the predicament now because you've got schools that are not covered. So principals and coaches have tried to get covered, but they're not getting covered, folks. So that's why we did an RFP to be all-inclusive. Now, if you go back to what you got, then you're going to have what you have right now. And it's not working.
Lee, can I say something right here? I mean, I had some calls from some coaches that wanted to keep what they had. So that's a predicament that I'm in as well.
I've had the same
and
calls.
you've had the same thing, I know. So that puts me in a predicament too. It's not just Rhonda saying this. It's, I've had calls that said, Rhonda, don't do this, and we've been working with these people. We really like these people. So that's my predicament as well. Because I haven't had to work with them. I don't know. I just know what I'm being told. So that puts this, people just don't understand. They say, oh, just go ahead and vote. You don't understand that there's a whole lot involved in doing these things. And yes, I'm trying to do the right thing. And yes, I've been here at 4 o'clock and listened to all the arguments. We were all here and heard all of this. And it's not a feel-good story to me. I'm not that easily swayed. I'm just saying I've had a lot of calls from a lot of coaches that have given me their opinions and their thoughts. So there's a lot more to it than just showing up and hearing some feel-good stories.
Well, what I would like to say to that is if you're hearing from coaches, that means they're getting coverage. So if they want to stay with their people, they're getting coverage. What we're talking about are the schools who aren't getting covered. The phone calls you're not going to get Because Coach Turner sat over there for 15 years as a head football coach and taped every ankle for every football player and every basketball player and every wrestler. And I sat out there during a playoff game. Those guys are trying to win a state championship and watching Watertown's trainer come take care of our kids because we can't get it together and provide a trainer to everybody. I don't care who wins the bid. I want trainers for every school. What we've been doing for the past 30 years does not cover every kid. It doesn't do it. And we put together a committee of people who are on the ground and who are living this as I have lived it for 20 years. And we can do better. And we should do better. And we can do better in about 30 seconds if we want to.
And I have relationships with Benchmark and with Sports Medicine. I know people that work there. Benchmark was part of Lookout Valley when I was there. They did a great job for Lookout Valley. I'm not against Benchmark. Erlanger made the best bid. That's why I came back, and that's why this committee brought back and said, we recommend Erlanger. It wasn't me going in there and pushing Erlanger. I don't care who gets it. I really don't have a dog in this fight, board. I do not care who gets this vote. They're all great people. I personally know Benchmark people, and I personally know doctors that work at Sports Medicine that are great people. I don't care which gets it. We have got to cover all schools. We're doing our kids wrong.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
I think, go ahead. I was about to make a suggestion. Go ahead.
Well, I hate to do this, but I understood immediately before the meeting that one and possibly two board members believe they have a conflict of interest, and it's not for me to intrude upon their personal ethics. But as far as legal ethics are concerned, I believe that at least Ms. Jones may legally vote on this. Because while she is an employee of Erlanger, that gives her an indirect conflict of interest, not a direct. State law prohibits a direct conflict of interest where she would personally benefit from letting out the contract. If Ms. Jones' personal ethics allow her to vote on this, as long as she discloses to the public, and I think she has, the interest, and if she certifies that she is casting her vote in the best interest of the school system, she may legally vote. Now,
and Ms. Robinson as well?
I don't know what Ms. Robinson's personal interest is.
Just add business relationship with both of them, their client.
I have not recused myself a couple of times and said, I have a relationship, yet I promise you I will not allow this to affect my vote, and I believe both of them could do that.
So let me make sure this is understood, because I think we can just solve it if we do this. If you're saying that I can vote because I don't get a direct interest, because I work mother, baby, and labor delivery at Erlanger, so I'm not getting the benefit from this. I can vote.
If you make that statement.
Okay, so let's is the motion on the floor?
Well, let me be clear. So, if you have a direct financial interest in this, then you may not vote. Direct means that you're going to benefit directly, and I understand with Ms. Jones where you are. Ms. Robinson, I don't know. We haven't had this.
I would not benefit directly from this contract.
Okay.
So I think I'm clear.
It sounds to me like the both of you have, at the most, an indirect conflict of interest. At the most, and frankly, Ms. Robinson, I'm not even sure that you have an indirect conflict of interest. As long as the two of you disclose publicly and certify that your vote is in the best interest of the system, you may legally vote. Your personal ethics are between you and your conscience.
Okay, well, let's go.
They need to make that statement.
I, Carissa Mosley Jones, am an employee of Erlanger Health Systems. However, I'm casting my vote in the best interest of the students of Hamilton County Department of Education.
Perfect.
And I do not have a direct conflict.
Perfect. Ms. Robinson?
I, Tiffany Robinson, have a number of these vendors as clients, but do not benefit directly from this vote and am making my decision in the best interest of students of Hamilton County Department of Education.
That's great. Now, do we need to re-motion or just re-vote?
You have a motion on the floor.
Pardon me?
You have a motion on the floor to accept all four bids.
To accept?
All four bids.
Can vote on that?
Withdrew it? Okay, so that's withdrawn.
Was that withdrawn? Okay, now do we have?
I make a motion to accept, what the committee has done, the work that they've done, and their recommendation.
I second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Who was the
Call.
second? No, two. Okay.
Ms. Robinson. I was going to say call for the vote. I was trying to get it out. Okay, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes, and all the coaches know I tried, yes.
And Mr. Wingate?
I want all the coaches to know yes.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. We are honoring, Mr. Smith is being honored tonight for his many years' service to Whitecap, so we're excusing him. Thank you, sir. Exemplars of Excellence, Teachers of the Year, Dr. Justin Robertson.
Dr. Highlander, Dr. Johnson, members of the board, appreciate you giving us this opportunity to recognize the Hamilton County Teachers of the Year. The Tennessee Teacher of the Year program promotes recognition and appreciation for excellence in teaching. This program, sponsored annually by the Tennessee Department of Education, recognizes a Teacher of the Year in each of the three categories: grades pre-K through 4, grades 5 through 8, and grades 9 through 12. Before we bring up the winners, I'd like to bring up a couple of people that have helped us to celebrate the Teachers of the Year. If I could get Mr. Matt Hughes from Jostens, Mr. Charlie Spencer from the Greater Chattanooga Robotics, and also Ms. Chris Humberg from the Funds for Excellence Foundation. And I'll give them a second to tell what they're presenting to the winners, and at that time we'll present the winners to come up. Principals will say something and have a chance to meet with you. Mr. Hughes?
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. My grandfather is 88 years old. He's an old teacher and coach from Athens, Tennessee, not far from here. In 1968, he decided to start a Jostens business. I'm third generation in that business. This is our family's 50th school year in this business. And I happened to be at his house the night before my first day of work, and he sat up in his chair and he looked at me really straight and he said, "Matt, don't ever take for granted the responsibility you have to affect the climate and the culture in these schools that you walk into, whether you're standing in front of a big group of students, one-on-one with a student, or in contact with faculty and staff." And one of the coolest parts about my job is that I work for a company that does just that. We've invested millions of dollars in research and development of tools and resources that do nothing but try to empower the people in charge and affect the minds and the souls, and not the hearts and the souls, and not just the minds of these students. So I say that to say this, that these three people that are getting awarded, that we're presenting these Teacher of the Year rings to, when people hear Jostens, they think our core business, class rings, championship rings, caps and gowns, different things like that. But it is so wonderful to be involved in a company that also believes our core purpose is to affect the hearts and the minds and the souls of these students. And these people are getting awarded because they realize that they have a core purpose beside just affecting the mind, but they too have absolutely, undoubtedly gone above and beyond their call of duty, and understanding their responsibility as well to affect the hearts and the minds and the souls of every student they come in contact with. And it's a privilege and an honor for us to get to present these rings.
Chris, you want to take a second?
Okay. The Hamilton County Schools Fund for Excellence is proud to participate in the recognition of these outstanding teachers, and pleased to present a token of appreciation for their dedication and great work on behalf of their students.
I don't have to introduce Charlie. I think everybody knows Charlie.
Last couple of times I've been here, people have asked, when are you going to retire from TBA? And, well, I finally did after 42 years. So, but we've formed a new nonprofit, Greater Chattanooga Robotics, to support STEM education here in Hamilton County. Our sole purpose is to provide equipment and training to any school that wants these programs. But we're also pleased to reward excellence, and we have a $1,500 check for each of the teachers who are just examples of all of the great teachers that we have here at Hamilton County.
Thanks, Charlie. So at this time it is my pleasure to announce the Hamilton County Teachers of the Year in grades pre-K through 4. She is also a regional finalist and currently in competition at the state level. from Red Bank Elementary, and coming along with her principal, Miss Haley Brown. The Pre-K through 4 Teacher of the Year is Miss Samantha Eaton.
Good evening. Often when principals talk about their exceptional teachers, one of those gauges is would I want my children in her class? I have to tell you, I want to be in Sam's class. She is an incredible teacher. It is truly a joy to watch her teach, whether that be in her classroom, her kindergarten classroom, or in the forest with the kids exploring and discovering as they learn. Sam has some amazing traits. You don't have time for me to list them all, but I will tell you that if you need to hear about the appropriateness as far as development of a young child goes, this is your girl. When you need to know something about kindergarten standards, what kindergartners should be learning, she knows it. She knows her stuff. And what I admire the most about Sam as a teacher is her fearlessness when it comes to doing what's right for kids. So you talked about that already. You know how important that is. And this teacher exemplifies that on a daily basis. So I'm glad that you finally see what I've been seeing for 6 years. And Sam is definitely the Teacher of the Year.
And the grades 5 through 8 Teacher of the Year is an exceptional education teacher from Nolan Elementary, and she's along with her principal, Ms. Dr. Shane Harwood. The grades 5 through 8 Teacher of the Year is Miss Jean Manley.
Dr. Highlander, Dr. Johnson, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we appreciate the opportunity to recognize Jean Manley. We've been blessed over the years to have several Teacher of the Year at Nolan, but it is super special this year because her being a special education teacher, she touches many students. And she's voted on by her peers, K through 5, and when we got the news that she was going to be the Teacher of the Year for 5 through 8, it was so exciting to me because just like Ms. Brown mentioned, Miss Manley comes to school every day, and she is an advocate for her children. She serves children with a variety of needs, and she comes in every day with the purpose of helping those students to be able to grow. Just a testament of what she means to our school. We're getting ready to have a big celebratory dinner for her, and we've got many, many staff members that are waiting on us. And so we're just excited to be able to do that. And again, I can't say enough about the appreciation that we have in your recognition of Miss Manley. Thank you.
And the Teacher of the Year for grades 9 through 12 is a math teacher, honors applied math, AP calculus, honors geometry from the Center for Creative Arts, and he's here with his principal, Miss Debbie Smith. The 9 through 12 Teacher of the Year is Mr. Nader Moyuddin.
So what I have to say about Mr. Moyuddin, he's an inspiration to all of his students. Everybody wants to take his class. And even if you say you're not good at math, he'll help you master it. And believe me, many say they're not good at math. And especially when you have a school full of artists who are afraid of math, he's built a relationship with math, and he shares that relationship with our students. He loves what he does every day. He's an amazing teacher. We couldn't be without him. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Nader Moyuddin, the high school teacher of the year. fired. He's very shy and quiet, but
I'll go ahead and go first since I'm going to have to try to remember how to say Nether Moyudin. Is that correct? Well, I want to read this for you because this is an honor for us. The Hamilton County Board of Education hereby recognizes Nether Moyudin of Chattanooga High Center for Creative Arts as Teacher of the Year. Congratulations.
And it is my honor, Samantha, to recognize you as Teacher of the Year at Red Bank Elementary. And I've seen you firsthand in your course kindergarten. And I'm so proud of both of these teachers in District 2. It's just for special education and forest kindergarten. Both of those are close to my heart. Congratulations.
Would the honorees please honor us? Oh, do you have something to say, Dr. Robertson?
What you were about to say.
Okay. Would you please honor us with a handshake, please? We would appreciate it. Congratulations, we're so proud. Thank you so much. Let's do it for children. Thank you, sir, so much for your hard work.
Just a normal day.
That's
so many. It's just,
it takes a good administrator to make a great teacher. It takes a good administrator to make a great teacher.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Appreciate it.
It does take also great administrators to help create great teachers, and two great AP Calculus teachers are sitting among us. I understand that Dr. McDade and Dr. Johnson also are great AP Calculus teachers. That's correct. Thank you so much, all of you. Let's give one more hand. Next, we have the annual National School Library Month recognition with Becky Covington.
Good evening. Superintendent Johnson, Chairman Highlander, board members, colleagues, and guests. It is our pleasure to announce that April 2018 is the 33rd National School Library Month. This evening, we would like to take a minute of your time to celebrate the incredible librarians of Hamilton County Schools. The Hamilton County Schools Library and Leadership Team is here with us tonight to share the great things librarians are doing for our students.
Superintendent Johnson, Chairman Highlander, and members of the board, we are the Library Leadership Team representing HCDE librarians. Last month, you may remember, we spoke with you concerning a need we had. This month, we come to you to celebrate School Library Month by sharing many of the outstanding accomplishments your librarians are making each and every day. Your librarians are incredibly busy and productive people. Our working goal this year has been striving to be future-ready librarians. We are future-ready. We can do technology.
Future-ready librarians work collaboratively with teachers in the community to build instructional partnerships. In all 9 districts, our librarians design and implement lessons and assessments that integrate deeper learning, critical thinking, information literacy, creativity, and innovation.
We select, integrate, organize, and share digital and print resources. We teach and model today's digital skills. In District 2 and in District 7, Signal Mountain Middle High and East Hamilton Middle High create research curriculums that will prepare their students for a global society. In District 3, Big Ridge and DuPont libraries have second graders creating digital presentations and making puppets that integrate social studies and technology standards. Today at Nolan, we designed paper seeds and tested their flight patterns outside.
We scaffold instruction to allow students to become increasingly self-directed as they create products of their learning that engage them in critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. In District 2, Red Bank Middle students researched, designed, and built Tesseract models after reading the book A Wrinkle in Time. In District 3, students at Hickson Middle collaboratively created altered books. This sweet little ray of sunshine from Calvin Donaldson is telling her own story. We provide learning venues that promote inquiry, creativity, collaboration, and community. District 4's Calvin Donaldson has an incredible space for teachers to meet and plan, while Hickson High School students are serenaded by a string quartet. The shush environment is old school. At our library professional development in January, librarians across the district met with an interior designer and a library supply representative to discuss ways to turn our dated spaces into attractive, functional spaces that meet the changing demands of our students and our teachers. We cultivate partnerships within the school and local community that promote engagement and a lifelong learning process. In District 4, CSAS Upper has partnered with the Chattanooga Community Kitchen and the Chattanooga Track Club's On My Own 2 Feet and Wheels program for an annual library fundraiser, the Book It 5K. Several participants from those organizations ran this past fall, and a portion of the proceeds were donated to the community kitchen. Barnes & Noble Bookstore, Read 20, and the Chattanooga Public Library offers their services to all 9 Hamilton County districts. A big shout out goes to our community partners. The list continues to grow each year.
In today's world, our students must have access to quality digital resources. To the best of our ability, the librarians provide or advocate for equitable digital access and resources for our students. From District 1 to District 9, we are working on a plan that would increase the digital resources of all Hamilton County students. A rising tide lifts all boats.
We provide and attend professional learning to cultivate a broader understanding of the skills that build success in a digital age. In District 1, Renee leads a tech tool workshop with teachers at Sell Creek Middle High. We have a library leadership team that plans an annual summer institute, along with our monthly support sessions that we call Fearless. We strategically implement future-ready standards that increase our capacity to be leaders in the digital world. And last, but certainly not least, we have students that love to read. Check out Susanna from District 6 and her phenomenal accomplishment, it's a lot of books, as part of a 7th grade reading challenge, and all those million-word readers from District 3's Middle Valley Elementary.
And as we all know, usually it's the kids that say it best. So let's hope this video plays for you.
We love our library because it has all the Harry Potter books. With my library, I read all the series of the Harry Potter books. There's non-fiction books too. I use this book to help me write an essay. Without this, I would know a lot of the information that I need to. There's also tables for arts and crafts. And all these books. Places to hang and read. Creative things to make your mind grow. We have the best teacher. And then you have all these supplies. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you, ladies, very much.
Hamilton County School Board members, Dr. Johnson, thank you for your support of Hamilton County Libraries. We are Hamilton County Librarians.
I hope you see that librarians, they don't only just check out books, but they're being innovative and doing some great things for kids. So it is fitting that special recognition be given to school library programs and the role of school librarians in education throughout Hamilton County School District. And I know we have several of our librarians here with us tonight. I'm going to ask them to stand. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Hamilton County Schools does hereby proclaim April 2018 as School Library Month in all of the public schools of Hamilton County, and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of Hamilton County to recognize and support this action and to participate throughout the month of April in the celebration of School Library Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, librarians. Now we have recognition of STEM card teams. Daily Parker, Sonia Goss.
Good evening. I would like to invite the students from Nolan, Woodmore Elementary, and Dalewood to come forward. Superintendent Dr. Johnson, Board Chairman Dr. Highlander, and members of the board. I am really honored tonight to stand before you and talk about something exceptional. Recently, several students in Hamilton County participated in a Go Green go-kart race, which requires that you take a lot of STEM learning and STEM education, and they built these go-karts. The Grand Prix happened, and some other great things happened, because every so often when one exceptional thing happens, there's a domino effect. And we have two teams tonight, Dalewood and Nolan, will be advancing to the big competition in Huntsville. Congratulations. But also, on top of that, a really amazing partnership has happened between Woodmore Elementary and Nolan Elementary. I would love to have Dr. Harwood come forward and tell us a little bit more, and we'll recognize our team members.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Just as she alluded to, this really came to be through a partnership and sort of a brainchild of Charlie Spencer with TVA again. We know what a great partner and champion he is for our children here in Hamilton County, but started early on, really kind of in the early part of the summer last year, and we were trying to think of a way where we could bring a couple of schools together and with the purpose of having something just ultimately engaging that we've never done before. So we kind of batted a few things back and forth, and this idea of a go-kart team, an electric-powered go-kart, came to be. So we looked into it a little bit, and this is a really big initiative in Huntsville, Alabama. And in Huntsville, the local school district there, every school in the entire district has at least one or two teams. So we reached out, got some more information, ended up partnering with Woodmore, and we were able to actually, again, construct this electric go-kart and actually compete in a race. And, you know, when we first were putting it out there for children, we wondered how many would be interested, but who doesn't like to drive a go-kart? And so quickly the interest was there, had a great group of kids. Next year, we're hoping to be even more collaborative with our Woodmore partners, because at this point, most of the collaboration happened in the race that we had at Chattanooga State, and it was a special thing to be able to see students from both schools, parents from both schools, the coaches working together, cheering each other on. We had a blown tire at one point. We had to borrow a blown tire and fix it together. We drove each other's go-karts, and it was just a neat experience. So I think at this point, you want me to introduce our team? So I'm going to introduce Jennifer Sisto. She is our STEM lab teacher and also our cart sponsor. And Ms. Sisto, I'm going to let you come up and introduce our team. I told you I was going to do that.
Hello. So I'd like to introduce Wyatt Cross, and Mia Eldridge, and Ben Wright. And they are 3 of the 10 members, 5th graders, that were selected for the go-kart team. And it took us about 15 weeks to put it together, 1.5 hours. Learned a lot of stuff. Very good. But it was very, very engaging, very great opportunity. They did a really good job. Very awesome. Good job, guys.
Good evening. I'm the principal at Woodmore Elementary School. We lost one of our members of our go-kart team because he had a baseball game. So Demetrius Miller had to leave, and Kenyon Williams is here with me this evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ariel Hayes. I'm the principal of Dalewood Middle School. And I will say that my students are a complete, true inspiration to me and the school and the community. I don't think anyone thought we were going to take #1, so it's like our underdog story. Everyone just kept watching us go round and around and around, like, wow, Dalewood's killing it out there. But they were driving better than high schoolers. I have to say that to Howard. Anyway, so I am so proud of them, and I would love for them to introduce themselves to you because they worked on this on their own. There was no support from any adult besides some last minute tweaking. But some days they worked really hard and long, and some days they put one part on. So, it's perseverance, and they didn't know I knew that. And so we were just super excited to go to Huntsville, and when we won that day, the brightness of their faces, I think they felt like they could take on the world. And that was just a true, it sung to my heart. So anyway, I'm going to let them introduce themselves if they so choose to. They may be a little shy.
Go ahead. Yeah, gotta do it. Just tell me.
My name is Jeffrey Welch.
What?
7th grade.
And they made their own shirts.
My name is Edward Ford, 7th grade. My name is Jeremiah Welch, 7th grade.
My name is Julian Hamilton, and I'm in 7th grade.
My name is Sanaa Jenkins, and I'm in the 7th grade.
My name is Adrian Porro, and I'm in 6th grade.
And this is Ayana Stevenson, and she is in 6th grade.
We would love to shake their hands after the board members present.
So I am super excited because 2 of my schools are being recognized tonight. So I'm going to do Dalewood first. This is a certificate of recognition. The Hamilton County Board of Education hereby recognizes the STEM CART team of Dalewood Middle School for your excellence in your competition. So congratulations.
They
have a Twitter page and a Facebook page. The next certificate of recognition is the Hamilton County Board of Education hereby recognizes the STEM CART team of Woodmore Elementary School for your participation in the competition as well. I'm sorry, I was getting in trouble by the Opportunity Zone director. We want to recognize the STEM coach as well.
Chris Sinar, he's ready.
Where's the coach? There he is. Okay, well, we want to recognize you as well. We appreciate everything. No, we appreciate everything that you have done. I want to say this really quickly. When I campaigned 4 years ago, one of the big things that the community talked about is why our district did not have STEM programs in their schools. So I'm really excited that this has come to fruition, is happening, and our kids are being able to engage. So thank you for all you do.
I do want to thank Green Spaces for providing our car for us. And if you guys have ever put something from IKEA together, you know how challenging that is. And so just imagine an electric race car, and they did the work, all of it, from a manual. It was very, very impressive.
And I would like to recognize Hamilton County Board of Education, the STEM CART team of Nolan Elementary. Congratulations, I'm very proud of you. The coach, principal, and especially the students.
We certainly want to shake your hands if you will honor us, please. Young people and coaches. Very good. Congratulations. Well done, young lady. Good job, sir. Well done, sir. Way to go, buddy. Good job. Well job, good man. Good job. We're very proud of you. You're so proud. Dr. Sharp, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I am excited and honored to be here tonight to recognize the mock trial team from Signal Mountain Middle High School. And this fine group of folks behind me, I've got Principal Todd Stinson, Coach Charlie Poss, faculty sponsor Lori Whitney. Not sure about this one right here, but 3 members of the team are here, and we've been patiently waiting outside, packed in like sardines out in the lobby. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Stinson, let him introduce his team.
It's always a pleasure to be here and to recognize our students for accomplishments both inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and as Dr. Sharp said, it is indeed a pleasure tonight to recognize our mock trial team. They're leaders inside the classroom and inside the school, but also outside the classroom. And it won't be too long before they become leaders in this state and in this country. And it gives me a great deal of pride to turn it over now to the coach, Charlie Poss, and let him introduce the team.
Thank you for letting us be here tonight. Thank you for honoring our team. My name's Charlie Poss, and I'm one of the coaches for the Signal Mountain High School mock trial team. I want to tell you a little bit about our team in a minute, but I also want to introduce one of our other coaches who's here, Scott Bennett, who you guys know very well. He started coaching with us really when we went to the state tournament last year, and then continued on to coach one of our teams this year. And also Lori Whitney is our teacher representative. She is my teacher of the year. So this is Lori Whitney. I will introduce the names of our team members right now, just so you know. A lot of them couldn't be here because the school play starts tonight at Signal Mountain. Many of them are there. Some work. Some might be asleep at home, I don't know, but most of them are doing important things. So we had a team from Signal Mountain that went to the state tournament in mock trial. We won the district. We didn't lose a match in the district competition. And our team members were Ethan Fell, Tareem Hussein, Luke Whitney, Ryan McGregor, Jack Poss, George Andrescu, Sarah Brooks, Trinity Donnellan, Caroline Cornett, Maggie Meller, David Cornea, Max Burke, Camille Schmid, and Meredith Bennett. I've been coaching mock trial since 1996, and we finished 6th place in the state tournament, and I was so proud and jumping for joy. And while many people might not be excited about finishing 6th, what I can tell you is that I believe since 1996 we are the first public school from Hamilton County that is placed in the top 10 in the state tournament. So it's a huge accomplishment. In our district, we're dominated by private schools, homeschool, and we're one of the only public school teams. In fact, since 2008, since we opened our door, we're the only public school team, Signal Mountain, that has gone to the state tournament from Hamilton County. And it's a tribute to the school and the really great kids that go there. and the administration. So you know that we have 3 of the kids that are here. Now I'll introduce them individually. Meredith Bennett, during the district competition, she won Best Attorney. She was an attorney, like her dad. Luke Whitney, who is also an attorney, and he also won Best Attorney during the district competition. And Trinity Ellen, who is one of our seniors. She's done mock trial for all 4 years of her high school career. She also twice won Best Attorney during the district tournaments. And I will also let you know that Trinity was voted 2nd best attorney in the state during the state competition. She was unbelievable. And this is her first year of being an attorney. She's been a witness every other year. Just some little accomplishments for our team. Our first match at the state tournament was against the 2-time defending state champion MBA, private school from Nashville. They had just come off finishing 4th place in the national competition, and we beat them. We were the only team to beat them in the state tournament. The teams that we went against finished 7th, 4th, 2nd, and 1st in the state tournament. We finished 6th. So we had a great season. We thank you guys for honoring our team, and we hope to be back again next year, maybe as 1st place finishers in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come.
And I would like to, Charlie, I'd like to give you all a certificate of recognition from the Hamilton County Board of Education to recognize you all, the mock trial team, as the winner of the local competition. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Future Supreme Court Justice, right? Great job. Great job here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank We're so proud of these young people and their coaches, administrators, teachers. Mrs. Jones will now read her statement about the games.
Tonight we have 2 delegates, Natalie Cook, Unified Ed for the Apex Project, and Dan Liner, HCDE. I'll read the statement and apply to both candidates. Thank you for your interest in addressing the Hamilton County Board of Education. During your presentation, please address the board as a whole, not individual board members or administrators. Also, do not present complaints or concerns you have about an individual employee of the school system. If you wish to voice those complaints and concerns, you should contact the central office and ask for a meeting with the superintendent. If you are criticizing an individual employee, I will interrupt you and ask you to refrain. If you continue to criticize individual employees, or if your remarks are in error or becoming repetitive, I may interrupt you and ask you to sit down. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. I will tell you when you have 1 minute left. You may begin when you're ready.
Good evening, Dr. Johnson, Chairman Highlander, members of the board. I'm Natalie Cook. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Unify Ed. And we're here to give you a little bit of an update with the APEX project. We recently concluded the community listening phase and input phase of the APEX project, and have moved into the implementation phase quite recently. You have a report in front of you, hot off the printer, was finished this morning. You guys received a digital copy in advance for your review. And this report's really intended as a recap of the listening phase and then as a resource for the teams that are working on the implementation through the Equity Collective. I have 2 members of the APEX Steering Committee here to share a few details, Reginald Gilmore and Elizabeth Tallman. And they'll be sharing the vision of what our community working together moving forward looks like. And they represent a body of 27 community members who acted as experts and accountability partners throughout the course of this project over the last 8 months. So first up, we have Elizabeth Tolman.
Thank you, Board and Dr. Johnson. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Elizabeth Tallman, and I am the K-12 Director of Education for a local nonprofit, as well as a mom of a public school student, and also one that will soon be a pre-Ker. And so what you'll see in this report in front of you, in the beginning of the report, you see an overview of our methodology. The APEX project engaged more than 4,000 local residents from last August through January. And represented, there were people from all over the community. There's a demographic breakdown after that. And you'll see that there was incredible diversity throughout those voices. And we engaged representatives from all over the community. There are 10 priority areas that you will follow through with that really make up the bulk of the report. And these are the areas that our community has said are the most urgent issues that we need to address for the inequalities that exist currently in our school system. These priorities are detailed in the report, and they're really the foundation of the APEX policy platform. We recently entered into the long-term implementation phase of this project with community organizing and an empowerment model that's named the Equity Collective. So there are 5 different Equity Collective teams that are working together right now. We'll be working through the end of 2018 to build relationships and bring in the community members that we really need to be to have their voices included, so that we can get the best national research, best policies, best practices, and really develop sustainable action plans for our community. The Unify Ed staff is going to do continued research, facilitation, capacity building, and also community organizing. The teams are broken into focus areas based on the 5 APEX policy platform priorities. And I'm just going to remind you of what those 5 areas are. They're racial and socioeconomic desegregation of our schools, supporting the whole child, community engagement and empowerment, supporting the people that work in our schools, and finally, funding and budgeting. The goal of the Equity Collective is to have 5 action plans ready to be presented in early 2019 for the entities available to execute these implementation plans. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Reginald Gilmore, and I'm a behavior specialist at Orchard Knob Elementary School, and I'm also a Tyner Academy alumni. I'm here to highlight a few important points from the letter to our community and the report introduced. First, inequality is not just a problem for today, it is a struggle communities have faced across our country because of social, political, and economical choices and trends. Educational inequality is the unequal distribution of academic resources, including but not limited to school funding, qualified and experienced teachers, books, and technologies, to social exclusions of communities. These communities tend to be historically disadvantaged and oppressed. To simplify this notion, imagine testing 2 individuals. One has everything he needs to take the test, and the other is also ready, but he doesn't have a pencil. This individual without the pencil doesn't have the tools or the resources to show us what he's capable of. I wasn't the smartest kid, but all I ever needed was the opportunity to experience new things that helped me to further my dreams. My grandparents used to say that it takes a village to raise a child. This is a proverb which means that it takes an entire community of different people interacting with children in order for children to experience and grow in a safe environment. Growing up in the inner city, my family and community held me accountable for my actions. My parents weren't always able to provide for me, but where they lacked, my community and my family picked up. Third, addressing inequality demands action. It's not enough to identify a problem. We have to work together to find solutions that fit our community. It is going to take all of us, neighbors, schools, churches, elected officials, local nonprofits and businesses, school leaders, and everyone in between to fix this. I once read that until we get equality in education, we won't have an equal society. Education is the most powerful weapon which our students can change the world. And finally, we know that there's no silver bullet for Hamilton County schools, but we believe that with hard work, perseverance, honesty, and partnerships, a brave and committed community like ours is fully capable of supporting every one of our children to be successful. It's time for a movement for change. We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about the progress and prosperity of our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others and our students and for us all. Thank you for listening.
happy to answer any questions that you might have about the report.
Board members have any questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you all.
I don't have a question, but I do want to say I've read your report, the digital version. Just want to tell you thank you for working on this and supplying the community this information. It's really important work. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks very much.
Dr. Highlander, school board members, Dr. Johnson, thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of our 3,000 plus teachers in Hamilton County. I want to make reference to a comment that Ms. Jones, I'm going to mention her name, please don't ask me to sit down. I'm going to make reference to a comment that Ms. Jones made last week that was really pertinent to a discussion. There was a prolonged discussion during the work session last week concerning teachers' salaries. And it was a very long discussion, a very interesting discussion. But near the end of that discussion, Ms. Jones made a point that is very pertinent to the discussion surrounding salary. And her point was, this is an issue that must be viewed through the lens of collaborative conferencing. It must be viewed through the lens also of PECA. And unfortunately, as Christy has pointed out on numbers of occasions, we have not yet been able to begin collaborative conferencing because we don't have budget numbers. So normally, in normal years, we would have already begun this process and we would have reached an agreement. When I say we, I'm speaking about the 9 people sitting on or the 8 people here and the 9th person who's not here, and also professional educators in Hamilton County. So the MOU that is currently in place is a prized document. It's almost a sacred document that is the possession of every professional educator in Hamilton County. It discusses 7 issues that are permitted to be discussed by state law, and one of those key issues is salary. So that is a very important point. So I would just say that in discussions surrounding salary, and any of those 6 other topics that are discussed in the MOU, it's very important that the process that was mentioned earlier, that the process be honored, and the process also be respected because it's a process that works. I happen to sit on the collaborative conferencing team. Christy, my friend Christy, is on the team as well. Dr. McDade is on the team, and we can attest to the fact that the process actually works, and it works very well. So in the soon coming future, we will have finished collaborative conferencing, and we will have a proposal to present to you concerning those matters that can be reopened. So thank you for your consideration and a mutual understanding that the premise of the memorandum of understanding is an agreement between 9 school board members and professional educators in Hamilton County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We need a motion to approve the minutes of the March 22nd, 2018 quarterly session.
Move to approve.
So moved. Second.
A second.
Vote, please. Or any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. We need now to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved in second. Do we have any items to be pulled or discussed?
I'm just going to pull school fees, so I'm voting against them, please.
I'm sorry.
The school fees.
Full school fees? Okay. So we need to discuss the school fees after the vote. Vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Ms. Thurman?
Yes, as everyone here knows how I feel about school fees. They're all over the map. Some schools have $10, some have $75, some have $80, some have $100. Signal Mountain is $100. that's saying that everybody on Signal Mountain has a lot of money, and I know that not to be the truth. And it says also that some of the students that go to Hardy Elementaries, if their parents can just afford $10, which I know is not the truth either. So I just don't like the fact that we are all over the map on these school fees. Some of these that goes for the parking fees, that goes for all of it. It's just blatantly unfair. This is why I wanted more of the money to go to school so that we can stop this. Because some parents, when they go to put their kids in school, it costs them $400 to get their kids in school. That should just not be happening. And of course, I know they're not mandatory, but the parents feel bad when they can't do it. It's embarrassing to students when their parents can't do it. Sometimes that makes us look like bullies, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And like I say, I know it's not mandatory, but I just don't like the fact that we can't seem to get the fees. At least make them a little bit more. I don't know if say fair. That's not the right word I want to use. Just to make them more uniform. Because like I say, if parents haven't seen this list, they need to look at it and they'll see what I'm talking about. I just think I'll go back to them.
Thank you, Ms. Thurman. Anything else? So do we need to vote as?
Motion to put it back on the agenda.
Right, correct. Motion, put it back on the agenda so we can vote.
We'll put it back on there.
Okay, let's have,
No,
is that?
no, you put it back on there. You want it on there, put it on there.
Okay, I will put it back on there then.
I'll second.
And call for the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes, and I want to make sure the public understands this. I say this every year. School fees are not mandated. They're not mandated. And I agree, Rhonda, that we probably should, we probably should figure out a process for the schools to equalize or make them more equitable, but they're not mandated.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
No.
Mrs. Thurman?
If we did our job, this wouldn't be necessary, no.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Dr. Holland?
Yes. Thank you very much. And we're going to board matters. Zero tolerance bill, Dr. Linda Gate.
I believe we're up to board policy 3501, the wellness policy, first reading. No action is required on this at this time, members of the board. It is the first reading, and it is to update our wellness policy so we can stay aligned with state law.
Sorry, I overlooked that. Thank you, sir. Have approval for proposed breakfast.
This is just it will increase meal prices for adults only, not for children. It does require a vote.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion for the vote. Vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Holland?
Yes. Approval of 2018-2019 tuition rates.
Thank you, Dr. Highlander. You have before you the proposed tuition rates for out-of-county students and out-of-state students. At this time, it does require a vote, and I do recommend approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
I just like that.
Mr. Testerman moved, and I think Mr. Galloway second.
Yeah. Ladies,
Question, Ms. Thurman?
Yeah, does this include our employees who bring their kids in from out of state? Do they have to pay tuition?
No.
That has been a long-standing policy. It's one of the 45 years I've been here that it's been done. That it's been a first for for employee perk, that they can, if they can bring their child with them into the system.
Is that an actual policy or is that just practice?
Practice.
Rephrase practice.
Just curious, Dr. Johnson, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'll share from former experience in our district as an employee. We had a perquisite policy that we used to allow employees that if you were an employee of the district, you could bring, so it mirrors, this practice mirrors what I've seen in other systems as an employee.
Well,
So
if you don't pay property taxes here to pay for the schools, which is why we make out of state people pay them whether you work in the school system or who you work for. I'm just thinking that you should be paying tuition just like everybody else. I mean, that's just my thoughts.
I think we can review that in policy committee, Ms. Lennon, and perhaps create a policy. I think part of the rationale behind it was if a staff member travels a great distance, it's much simpler to have their child with them than pick them up and have no one pick them up after child care at a long distance away, and it's easier, we think it's easier to gain quality employees, but I'm willing
Not all
to.
quality employees travel across the state line. I mean, why are they any more important than the people that live in Hamilton County? I mean, people in Hamilton County are having to pay for the school system.
I understand what you're saying.
So I'm just saying, just because you travel a long way doesn't make you any more important than anybody else. I'm sorry.
I understand so we can look at that in policy. Okay, Ms. Lennon, if you want to get the committee together sometime in the future, we'll plan.
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Okay, approval right now. Where are we on that? We ready to vote, are we not?
We don't have a motion.
We don't have a motion yet? I thought we did, sorry. Yeah, oh, that's right, Testerman and Galloway. So call for vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes, providing we review.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. The Old East Brainerd Elementary time extension, Justin Witt or Dr. Dade, I don't see Mr. Witt, but
That'll be me. Y'all went too long for Mr. Witt. His son had a ball game. So the East Brainerd property was scheduled to close on April the 2nd. There's some funding issues that came up. The funding has now been approved. What they've done is they needed not an estimate, but an appraisal. They did not have an appraisal, so they had to go back and get the appraisal as well as an environmental study. That usually takes about 2 to 3 months, and we told them we would give them a 3-week extension. All of that is in process, and I do believe this sale will be finalized in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think that's reasonable.
Good, move second. I will say that the death of one of the financiers is what slowed us down, is that
Yes,
correct? So
correct.
that's obviously something we nor they have control over. So, move in second. Call for vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Textbook adoption instructional resources. Dr. Justin Robertson, please.
Dr. Highlander, the textbook adoption committees worked throughout the second semester to identify resources that were carefully selected and analyzed. We are now recommending your approval.
Move to approve.
Move approved. Second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Galloway. Discussion. Call the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Exceptional Education, Garfield Adams, approval for MOU with Blue Cross Blue Shield for Project Search.
Dr. Highlander, Garfield's here to answer any questions. The MOU with Blue Cross Blue Shield's basically just an agreement to conduct Project Search. It's a collaborative agreement to identify students with disabilities. No funds are needed. Requesting at this time. Requesting your approval.
Thank you very much.
I would move to approve. A second.
Moved in second. Vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Stellar Therapy Amendment. Dr. Robertson?
Yes, sir. Again, agreement with Stellar Therapy to provide speech and language services to private and homeschool students. There's provision that greatly contributes to the system. State Department of Education gave LEA a small bonus, $290 and $292 to their 17-18 IDA preschool funds. Bonus affects the private school proportionate share amount. This is the reason for the amendment. The contract amendment is for the private school proportional service plan paid for from the IDEA Part B grant of $395,547. And IDEA preschool grant not to exceed $406,810. Again, requesting approval of this amendment.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Ms. Lennon, thank you for the second. Any discussion? These are something we're bound to do by law, is that correct?
Correct.
We have no choice, so we need to approve. Motion, vote please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Schedule, zero tolerance policy appeal. Dr. McDade?
Thank you, Dr. Highlander. You have before you an appeal for a young lady who has gotten into a lot of drama this year. She was suspended the rest of the year. I amended the suspension and placed her in online classes. She's a very bright young lady. The mom is requesting that she be allowed to go back to school. I think at this time she probably will do much better with online classes and stay out of a lot of drama.
I move that we uphold.
Second. Moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, who moved it?
Testerman, Galloway, second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
She'll return to school in the fall.
Yes.
Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Is there a second one, Dr. McDade?
Yes, sir. There is a senior requesting permission to walk at graduation. This happened recently when they come at this point of the year and they have drugs. I have very little options to go with. I will allow them to graduate. However, I have rescinded any senior activity. They will not be able to go to prom or any senior functions, including walking at graduation.
Move to uphold.
Move to uphold. Mr. Testerman, second, please.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Galloway.
I just hope, Lee, that this sends a message to these kids. You can't act like a crazy kid this close to the end of school and think you can get away with it.
I had 4 of them last week.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of some of these. It's just crazy. We're need to get at the kids. You can't be bringing drugs on school property this close to the end of the year because you think we can't do anything about it. It's just.
Thank you. And yet, there are repercussions for our actions.
Just to clarify, don't bring drugs anytime. Anytime.
Well, if you have made it this close, surely you can wait a few more months. I mean, come on.
And the age is very significant too, because you're not even on the cusp anymore.
And that's not an easy
You
thing to
could be
sit in front of a parent and tell her your
Right.
child can't walk at graduation. That's what they've lived the last 18 years to see.
You've got a hard job, Dr. McDade, and we appreciate it.
Only for 32 more days, he said.
Only 32 more days counting. We appreciate you, sir. Take off the vote, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Howard?
Yes. Schedule of sessions, 2018, 2019, sent out that we have observed and looked and studied. A motion to accept. The schedule of sessions for next year.
Move to accept. Second.
Discussion. Call for the vote.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lennon?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Testerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman?
Yes.
Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Chairman Highlander?
Yes. School safety update. I'm gonna make this just as brief as possible. Several of us attended school safety on Monday, 2 sessions, one downtown at the Weston and one at East Hamilton Middle High. And also 5 of us traveled yesterday to Nashville for a summit on school safety. There are several things. I sent out a memorandum offering to collect bullets, and as the time I left, I did not get any. But if you would like to make a brief comment on something that you gained from that school safety summit, we gained so much. I didn't know where to start. Would anyone like to make one thing?
I would. It was interesting to hear from so many municipalities across Tennessee and how far along they are in providing SRO officers to their schools and providing extra counselors to their schools. And frankly, we have to do more than we're doing. We have to. And I was glad to hear our superintendent bring some figures to us today. But there was something else that was said there, and I thought it made a great deal of sense. That right now, across the state of Tennessee, there seems to be a public opinion, a public outcry to do something about this. And it would be nice to see, and I don't know how you get the word out, but it would not be nice to see the state of Tennessee put on a referendum sometime in this coming year as for all citizens of the state of Tennessee to vote up or down, yes or no, that they're willing to fund SRO officers in all of our public schools. And that could be done. And I would challenge our elected officials that have the power and have the ability to call for a referendum to do so. We do not need to let this continue. But it was interesting to hear what's taking place all over the state and how much work we have to do. But we are doing it. What we did gain from our own sheriff was that there is great consciousness and great effort taking place right now to change what's happening in our schools. One thing you bring back, you see something, say something. And I think that if we can get that message out, that will be tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you. We all gained on Ms. Thurman.
Yeah, there was just a couple of things. The idea of some of the SRO officers that spoke, some from the Tennessee SRO Association, I guess it was, and I thought about getting a video of one of those guys or one of our SROs to tell the students what to do in an attack. They told all of us and told the students what they needed to be aware of and what they needed to do and what would be expected of them if something were to happen in their school. So I think it would be good to maybe talk to some of our SRO officers and maybe get a video done for the kids to watch. It wouldn't take me just a few minutes to tell them is one thing. And then another thing they brought up is one of the, and I was talking to Dr. Johnson about this today, one of the school systems, instead of having to buy SRO's cars, you can't leave yet, Lee. Instead of having to buy our SRO's cars, they use repossessed cars for their SRO officers. And I thought that was, I hadn't even thought of that. I said, well, the police services center down there, they have a bunch of cars they repo down there in drug deals and what have you. And so I thought that was a pretty good idea. But anyway, we got a lot of good things. Found out about this film for windows that bullets won't penetrate. We found all kinds of wild and crazy things out that we'd never heard of before, but it was very, very much worthwhile.
Very excellent SSI group that came out of Colorado, the sheriff, and gave some very good ideas on Monday as well. And I appreciate Dr. Johnson and the staff trying to really do everything they can to ensure safety for our children. That has to be one of our very top priorities, and we need to do everything we can within that. I will say Columbine, one of these fellows went through Columbine where a horrible tragedy took place several years ago, and the principal was so proud of all the things they had done, went through the cafeteria door where the original perpetrator had entered those years ago, and so you can see how it's barred the doors. And someone had taken an aluminum can and put it under that door, propped it for them to get in and out easily. So no matter what we do, there's human error. We've got to train people what to do. Thank you so much. There's one more thing I'd like to say real briefly. I think we need to do this. Mr. Ladner, in conjunction with the law. The Special Questions Committee has to meet every 3 years to allow professional employees to determine, I am summarizing, sir, for time, to undergo the collaborative conferencing. As Mrs. Jones said, Dr. Johnson said, any funding for salaries has to go through the collaborative process. And we understand that we may make Dr. Johnson may make a suggestion, but nothing is done until we get to the MOU, the collaborative conferencing. The March 30th, the committee met. 96% of professional employees indicated they wanted to do collaborative conferencing. 84% chose HCDE. 15.9% indicated they wanted to be represented by someone unaffiliated. So the second cycle of collaborative conferencing, July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2021, we had 7 representatives. 6 seats will be from the HCDE and 1 will be from a professional educator not affiliated, and will begin July 1, 2019. Members of the committee that worked on this agreement as possible were Dr. Steve Highlander, Mr. Joe Galloway, representing management, Stephen Hinkle and Kevin Aislinger representing professional employees. Does that cover the gist of it, sir? Thank you. We appreciate so much your kind attention. Does any board member have an announcement they need to make?
I have an announcement. On Thursday, April the 26th, 2018, at 5:30 p.m. at Brainerd High School, the Brainerd High School Alumni Association will be hosting a welcome reception for the new principal there, Mr. Christopher James. So the community is invited to attend, come out, support, meet Mr. James, and talk to him, hear the awesome things that he has in store for Brainerd High School. Mr. James is the new principal, and that invitation is to the board and to the community. But it's April 26th at 5:30 p.m. at Brainerd High School.
Any other announcements, Mr. Testman?
Yes, I'd like to announce I'm a grandfather again. Got a little girl born in Wisconsin on Monday. If I can get her name correct, Winona Cheyenne. Born in Wisconsin. Got a head full of hair. Black hair, just beautiful child.
No beard.
Not yet.
Never?
But if you like to see pictures, be glad to see.
Ms. Robinson, you have a
Sure. This invitation is to the board as well as the central office staff, and then of course it's already been extended to the community. But the Creative Discovery Museum is having a multi-faith panel this Sunday at 6:30 at the museum, and it's really to talk about inclusion around religion and diversity of communities. And with all the talk that we have going on right now in the community with equity, I thought this was it's going to be a really good discussion. And so board members, you're all invited, and I have given your email addresses to the Creative Discovery Museum, so you probably have an invitation in your inbox, and I also gave them the central office staff emails too. So, and then I also wanted to ask that we do actually get a policy committee on the calendar. The policy that Rhonda brought up, I think, is definitely worthwhile exploring. And then Dr. Johnson, I thought maybe if not this coming policy meeting, but sometime in the near future, maybe we could start reviewing like magnet policy and there's something else I had, but specifically the magnet school policies.
So one thing I think I'd be remiss not to mention, we obviously started state assessments on Monday. Appreciate the work that our teachers and leaders have done, particularly in our secondary schools as we move to the online platform. Know there has been some challenges in regards to that transition across the state. Monday and Tuesday in particular, yesterday, not quite as much of them today. There kind of continue to be challenges, and the state's kind of working with the vendor through that. We've been made aware, just kind of coming in, of some shifts in legislation that will have some impact. And so, as we have a chance to really sift through those, board, obviously, I'll make you aware. We'll work on communications out to the district as a whole, our teachers and leaders. But just be remiss not to mention our teacher support. And I think one additional comment is, regardless of what happens in regards to the assessment county, we want our students, we see it as a great indicator for us to learn from. And so we want our students and our teachers and leaders to continue to give their very best right to the assessment so that we can use it as a learning tool as we prepare for the next school year. So appreciate the work that's being done. Appreciate again our teachers and leaders as they persevere through it, and we'll continue to fight. And one more, our assessment team has been really phenomenal on the ground, really trying to support schools across the system. Shannon Moody and that team. So thanks so much.
Lee, I know you're dying to leave, but I have to say one thing. Who made this graduation thing? I have a Sale Creek at 11:30 and Saudi Daisy at 12.
Mr. Henry and Tobin asked me to do that.
So I couldn't go. And what am I supposed to do? One's at Tilley, one's at Tilley, and one's at McKenzie.
The Tobins will just last 20 minutes. You'll be able to make them both.
Rhonda, I'm in the same boat. Howard and STEM school are only 30 minutes apart. But STEM schools last year was 20 minutes long.
That's happened to me before. Just run down the hill to the other one like I did.
I will say, as a many-year teacher and a father and a grandfather, my heart goes out to these kids who have put in for a test, and teachers who have put in for tests, and the company that served it has not been able to pull it through. So I hate that so much, and our hearts go out to these children and these teachers and the administration. Anything else? We dismiss. Go, Dr. There you go.
Yeah.